Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. How was the last project? I hope it was good. Okay, today we're going to look at variables, if, else, while statement according to what is given right here. And then if we look at the resources, of course, you need to look into it to get more understanding added to this video. It's going to tell you everything you need to know to get started with your C. But when they say everything, is not actually everything, but at least a very basic and good concept that will get you at the peak of C language, okay? So right here we have this few things to treat. They're keywords and identifiers, integers, and the rest of them. So let's kick started with the keywords and identifiers. Now, however, I'm not going to be using my sandbox to take you on tutorials anymore, but don't panic, it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. I am going to be using this man called Temiers, okay? Now, if we go to my sandbox, let's just do that for clarity's sake. If I go to my sandbox here and log in right here, now you can see root 021F242, and then if I open here, you can also see the same thing here. So I've connected these to my terminal, and then this C program, what I've been doing all this while to guide you guys. So if I say cd into my C program, now what I have here, if I should list this content, I have a out and the rest of them. So if I should open here, this is my Temiers, and then say lists, sorry about that, and then say lists, okay, I'm gonna have the same thing. Now you can see how this font style looks beautiful. It's a very good terminal. It looks like a GUI interface, but it's actually a CMD, okay? So I'm gonna be using this one to do my training, all those for now, from now henceforth. Oh, I can also choose to use this one called Replit. Replit is another good site, but it's an online platform. It enables collaboration with people to work together, and then it gives room for a quick check of codes and all that to run programs. It's an IDE actually. So let's try to let me create something. I'm gonna call this one. I'm gonna choose my C language. I'm gonna call it var. All right, and then I create my replit. All right, so this is how the terminal looks. Okay, this is where you run your code, and then when you click on run, it will give you the output right here. Like you see here, it's a hello world they're trying to print, and the hello world is written right here. So if I want to maybe run GCC to check my code using shell, I can click on shell here and then try to say GCC. I'm trying to run this main.c file, so I'm going to say main.c, enter, and then it's going to give me this a.out, something we discussed in the previous video. So if I can say this dot slash a.out, enter, it's still going to print hello world. So this is the same thing as this, and the same thing as also your web term, okay? So any of the three, I may be choosing to use anyone at any time. So please just get yourself familiarized with it. I encourage you to download Temiers. I'm sure you will enjoy it. Okay, let's get started. Now, the first thing here on our list is keywords and identifiers. What is keywords and what identifiers? Okay, keywords are actually compiler reserved words, or let me say it's a reserved word used in C language. Okay, so for example, in this very program, we have something like the int, we have something like the void, we have the include, we have the return. All these ones are keywords. The main actually is a function name, it's not a keyword. So you can actually use a keyword to define your own parameters or define your own function or call your own variable. For instance, if I want to say, let's say I want to create a variable now and I say int, I cannot actually say int return as a keyword. No, it's not going to work because this is a keyword. All right, so it's not accepted for you to use a keyword to define your own function or variable name. All right. And then an identifier is actually your name definition. Let's say when I say var or integer, I say integer, and then I call this num, or let's call it a number. This is an identifier that identifies a value within your program. Let's say number equals to 5. Now, this variable name called number, it's used to identify the value 5. So You can say that identifiers is like it's a variable name. Yeah, just call it that way. It's a name that is used to identify a particular concept or data type that you're putting into your program. All right, so that's about identifiers and a keyword. So integers, what are integers? Integers are simply numeric values. Okay, like now I have 5 here, so this is an integer. If I say 10 minus 5 minus 20, those are actually what integers. But we have two basic kind of types of integers. We have the signed integers and we have the unsigned integers. Okay, the signed integers are those integers that has negative values. For instance, if I should say int number, int basically at the default state is a signed integer, right? So I can say int minus 5. It's gonna still accept it because the int is seen as a signed integer. If I run this code, you can see that we have minus. Do we have it? Okay, I've not actually printed it out, so let's print it. Let's print f, and then let's our format specifier is going to be d, and then we have this called the number inside. So if you take this to the end of it and then semicolon, if you run this program, you will see that we have minus 5 hello world. So let me put slash n so that it will take us to a new line. Let's run that again. You can see we have okay, there's a problem right here. Sorry about that. I'm supposed to close this. Okay, so let's try it again. Sorry about that. So we have minus 5 and a half hello world. Okay, but what if I declare this number as an unsigned integer? Let's try that. Unsigned integer. Okay, if I run this program, now you can see that we have minus 5, but is that actually true? Yes, but at the same time, no. The reason we have minus 5 is because your format specifier here is d. All right, so it's converting your value to a signed integer. So if I should use the normal format specifier for unsigned integer, which is supposed to be u, and then run, you can see I'm having a garbage value, some garbage kind of values here, because unsigned integer is not supposed to take anything minus, negative values. So if I should say let's say 5 normally without that sign, it's going to print the 5 for me. You can see we have 5. So that's the basic difference between signed integer and unsigned integer. All right, let's move ahead, and then we have here arithmetic operators in C. Everyone knows what arithmetic operators are. It's simply the plus, the minus, the multiplication sign. In terms of programming, we use asterisk to represent a times. We have the division sign, which is a slash, the forward slash. We have something like the remainder, which uses modulus. We're going to work on that in a little time. So those are all arithmetical operators in C. Then the next one here is the if statement. What is if statement? If statement is actually used to check the condition of a program or condition of a variable or a value that is passed to the if statement, the conditional statement. Now let's look into reality what that actually means. Now let's take, for instance, someone sends you to take this money, go and buy me something, go and buy me food, go and buy me let's say go and buy me water, and I want that water to be let's say Dubai water. It's written there Dubai. Let's call it like let's just put it like that. Now you actually go to a shop to buy the water, and then you don't see the water that is called Dubai, but you see waters. Now the condition was go there and buy me what Dubai water. At that state, you're not expected to buy anything because you were not given an instructions of if you don't see water or this very water, buy any other kind of water. That's the meaning of that thing. So let's see how it works in terms of programming. All right, I'm going to write a simple code right here to describe that. So let me take this one off for now. Okay, and then let's declare a variable. Let's call this integer. That's a data type. I'm going to call this one num. That's for number. Okay, let me just call it num. Now, there are two things involved right here when you want to declare and a variable name. When you write integer number, you're just declaring that you want to attribute the data type of integer to this variable called number. All right, but you've not actually initialized that very variable name. For you to initialize a variable name, you have to use the equal sign, that assignment operator, to put in a value that very variable will hold. That's number is going to hold an integer data type 8. Now at this stage you are declaring and at the same time initializing. All right, you can choose to declare, this is just declaration, and then you can choose to initialize in a different line. So I can say num it's actually equal to 8 right here. This is initialization stage. Okay. All right. Now, so let's try to implement the if statement. For me to do that, I'm not gonna initialize it. I'm gonna ask user to give me a value, whatever value you like. So I'm gonna say we've done this before. Print f. All right. Please enter a value. Let's just put it like that. Let's please enter a value and here. Okay, and then after entering the value, you got to take in the value by using your scanf. We discussed it in the previous video. All right, and then in the scanf, what I'm looking for, it's sorry about that. It's actually a numeric data type. So I'm gonna pass in the D format specifier, and then I'm gonna call in the address of the number. All right. Okay, at this stage, you've there should be a comma right here. At this stage, you have actually grabbed the number from the whoever passed the number to the program. Now, you want to print the number. Let's say if you put any number above 0 or 0 itself, it's gonna say positive number, and if the number is below 0, it's gonna say negative number. So how you're gonna do that is to say and use an if statement. If the number, that's NUMP, is greater than or equal to 0, okay, all right, return printf, let's just call it positive number. All right, terminate that. Now let's leave it at that. That's just an if statement. Okay, and if you run this program and probably you enter a value, okay, let's just have something like slash tap here /t to give us a space between these printf statement and then what you're expected to write in the standard output. All right, let's run that again. So we have let's say I enter the number 7 and then enter. It's printing what? Positive number. Let's run again and then enter something like -8 or 9, enter. It's printing nothing because there was no condition associated to the if statement, such that if you did not meet that very condition, use the other way around. All right, so that takes us to the next one here called if else statement. If else statement takes care of the opposite. If the condition is not met, don't just leave it blank. Try to do something in the opposite direction. So I'm going to say if number is greater than or equal to 0, print positive. Otherwise, that is else. Otherwise, that's the else statement. You're going to print f. And this time around, you're going to say negative number. All right. Now, of course, you know very well that number can either be negative or positive. There's no two ways about that, except you want to print 0 differently. Okay. We only have positive numbers and negative numbers. When you have two conditions, you can use this if and else statement. But if you have multiple conditions, you can use what they call else if statement. You are still going to go into that in the later video, because here I don't think we have that implementation right here. So let's try to work on the task ahead of us. Okay, let's try to run this program now, and then please enter a value. I'm going to enter something like 8, enter. It's giving me a positive number. So let's try the negative part. Let's say -70, enter. It's giving me negative number. So that is how to apply an if conditional statement. Now there's what we call a ternary operator. Ternary operator is also used to checkmate conditions, right? But I think it's only 2 conditions that you can actually use ternary operator to do. Let's try to use that. But now let me just comment out this very line. Let's take out this for now so we can see how ternary operator actually works. All right, so let's still try to use the same condition. Now in ternary operator, you need 3 things. The first thing is a condition. All right, the first thing is a condition. I'm going to say something like number. If a number is greater than or equal to 0, all right, a question sign. Okay, and then the first thing I'm going to say here is print F, right? Let's say positive, and then otherwise that condition actually fails. Take the next value and then print F, and then call this very one negative. Okay, let's see if that actually works for us. So let's run the program and then enter a value. I'm going to enter something like 70, enter. You can see positive, all right? So if I run the program again, let's say I enter the value minus 6, enter. You can see negative. So this is another way to define a conditional statement. This is actually a ternary operator, and this is an if conditional statement. You can choose to use any one of your priority. It's still going to work for you. So that's it about the if statement and if else. The next one is relational operators. Actually, we've actually talked about relational operators. Now, when you say if number is greater than or equal to 0, this is relational. You're trying to relate the context of your variable name and what is assigned to it as a value to check. Okay, so we are trying to check if this value 0 or anything that you've entered is, or sorry, we are trying to check if the value entered is either greater than 0 or equal to 0. So if it meets that first condition, give us a positive number. We have several kinds of types of relational operators. We have something like greater than equal to, less than equal to, less than, or greater than, not equal to. I think we should know all about that. Let's say greater and equal to. We have less than and equal to. We have greater than. We have less than. We have the equal to sign. Sorry about that. That's incremental operator. I'm not working on that for now. We have the equal to. We have the equal to, and we have the not equal to. I think those are the basic ones we normally use on a daily basis. So let's try to see how to apply 3 of them. You've learned how to apply the first one. I'm sure the second one is easy for you to utilize. The third one and the fourth one is actually very simple. It's something we're using on our daily basis. You're trying to check if the value is actually greater than the assigned value, or it's less than. Now let's try to implement that just one trial to really get us clarified. All right, let's take off this ternary operator and delete this out. So if number is greater than 0, let's just use that, greater than 0, print positive number, and then if less than, and print negative number. Now the 0 here is not part of the positive number, because you actually say that if the number is greater than 0, that means anything from above 0 is considered positive. But the 0 itself falls in the other way around. That means it's negative. Now let's try to put 0 and see what happens. I think we have an error here, unexpected identifiers. Okay, because of this. All right. So what I'm simply gonna do is to comment it out so that it will not give us error again. Okay, so let's take off this. All right, let's try to run that again. Okay, please enter a value. Let's enter 0, negative number, because it is not part of the condition here to be checked. Okay, it's outside the positive condition, rather it's negative. All right, so the equal to should be there, or you can say if I'm greater than, let's use the value minus 1. Okay, with this the 0 is going to be positive now. Okay, so let's say 0. You can see we have positive number. But do you think this is the best way to actually implement this kind of program? The answer is no. No, because if you actually probably want to use a floating number, and then you want to check if minus 0.5 is greater, if you put minus 0.5, it's going to give you positive number, because minus 0.5 is not up to 0.1. So as long as it's not up to that value, it's going to be seen as a positive number. So when you're looking forward for this kind of condition, try to use greater than or equal to sign, because I think that's the best way to implement this kind of conditions. Okay, so that's actually how we use those functions. Let's try to check another one. Logical operators. Now, what are logical operators? There are simply 3 types of logical operators. We have the AND operator, we have the OR, then we have the NOT operator. Okay, now what are NOT operators, and how do you use them? How do you apply them? Now let's try to check something here. You've actually let's say in your social media, your Facebook, your WhatsApp, or any kind of social application platform you normally use, you will discover that you need to put two things before you can log into your site, and that is your password and your username. If those two things are not actually the same in the database, it's going to tell you you've entered a wrong input. So try to validate it again. That is the work of AND operators. So let's try to see how to implement that program here and see how it works. Okay. Now the first thing I want to do is to declare a variable. So to do that, I would have actually said let's use the variable the data type char. But in C language, for you to make comparisons of a character, a string kind of character, you got to use some a kind of predefined conditions or predefined functions like the string length or the string compare to actually check if this very string is the same as what you want in this very database or variable name. To avoid us going deep into some kind of concept that will look kind of difficult, let's try to use the basic ones. Let's use integer. Let's assume that our username is a numeric value. So let's just say that our username is a numeric value, right? And our password also is a numeric value. So we will let's terminate this. We will simply say printf. You're gonna ask the user to put his username. So let's say printf, and then enter uname. That's your username. When you're done with that, we're gonna scan the value, scan f, and then it's gonna be saved as a data type of integer. So we're gonna use a %d for integer format specifier, and then we're gonna pass the uname to this. And then the next one, you print f, and then I'm gonna ask you to enter password. Okay, and at the end of it, we're gonna say scan f. We're gonna look for %d, the same thing. And then this is going to be pass wd, that's password. All right. Okay. Now you're done with that. Let's just add /t here, so it's not going to be added to our scanf. Okay. Now, when you're done giving these values, you want to check. All right. So what you're going to do now is to say if the value that the user passed, that's if uname, all right, it's equal to a particular value. Let me say I want to call this let's say 200. Okay, if probably your username is 200 and then your password, the password you enter, it's equal to let's say 100. Okay, only at this time you will tell the user that you have successfully validated your credentials. All right, credentials validated. Let's just write it that way. Credentials validated. Okay, or else your username and password is not 200 and is not 100, then printf. I'm gonna say that what you entered is invalid. So we're gonna say invalid credentials. Okay. Now, if I run this program, what it's gonna do is it's gonna check after you input your name and then your password. It's gonna check if the password and the username corresponds with what we have here. So in that case, you're supposed to enter 200 for your username and then 100 for your password. Let's just run and check that out. So if I should enter my username to be 200, then I'm gonna enter my call dump. Okay, let's see how to correct that. This is because when you say something like this, it's simply because that you've not actually passed a correct value or a correct description of your scanf. All right. Now look at this. Printf enter username. You've entered the username, but it's not actually sending the username to the correct variable name because you've not referenced the variable name properly. You're supposed to send this username to the address of uname and not the uname itself. Please take note of that. So I'm gonna add my address. So when you get the value from the standard input, take it to the address of username and the address of password. So let's run that again if the program will accept. You said 200. Enter. Fine, it's working now. So the password is 100, right? Enter. Credentials validated. That means it has the same content in my database. So let's see if probably one of them fails. Let's say my username, I wrote 800 instead of 200, and my password is actually correct, 100. Enter. You can see invalid credential because one of these two fields do not meet the condition. The two must be the same. That's the work of and. But probably if I say or here, if I probably say something like or, this is how to write or, that means any of these two, any of these two, if any of them works, if I have either the username correctly or the password correctly, it's gonna open the portal or site for me. So let's say my username was 800, which is not correct to what we have here, but my password is correct, 100. Then I hit enter. You can see credentials validated. That is because one of these conditions is true. So each time any of the condition is true, using the or statement, it will definitely validate your credentials. But whereas the case is a reverse or it's opposite to that which we've declared, like let's say we have the two parameters send, it's actually wrong. My password, let's try to run that again, and then let's say I have my username to be let's say 700, and I have my password to be 600. And then if I hit enter, it's telling me invalid credentials because one of the criteria has not been met. All right, I think that has explained how to use the AND statement or the AND operator and the not and the OR operator, which is found on the logical operator. The next one is the NOT operator. Okay, we're going to look at that in later videos. Let's move ahead. But for now, let me just leave that one as an assignment for you. Try to write a program that tells us the use of the NOT operator and then leave it in my comment section. All right, so that's that. The next one here we have is the while loop in C. I don't know why they're writing while loop in C and this one is separately while loop. It's supposed to be for loop and while loop, but let's just follow what they're doing right here. So the next one here is the while loop. Let's see how to use a while loop. Now let's take for instance. There are times you want to do a particular thing that's something that will repeat itself in a couple of times. Let's say for instance in your office program, something like Excel, you want to write a number from, let's say, 1 to 10, 20, and the rest of them. You will not need to write 1 per cell, 2, 3, like that. You can use something like a while loop or a for loop to actually loop through those values and then print them for you recursively. Now let's see how to do that here. Now let's actually say I want to print. Let me take this off. Okay, integer main. Let's say I want to print some values from, let's say, 1 to 10. So I can simply initialize my recursive value to be like 1. So I'm gonna say in integer, let's say I, and then equal to 0. That's the first value. Now I can simply print I is equal to 0, print I equals to 1, and like that. But it's gonna take a lot of time for me to do that, right? So while loop comes in here to say while. Since I want to print the number from 1 to 10, I can say while I is less than or equal to 10. All right. I'm gonna say, let me open a block here. I'm gonna say print f the value of y. So I'm sorry, the value of I, and then I is actually a numeric value, so I'm going to use this format specifier, and then here print what? I. Okay, and close this. Now at each time you print y, you have to increment, so I have to say I plus plus. If you don't use I plus plus, it's gonna run an infinite loop because I is gonna be true at all times. Okay, so the first time it's gonna say I is 0, it will print 0. Now it's gonna add plus 1. That's the meaning of I plus plus, add plus 1. So plus 1 to 0 becomes 1. But is it up to 10? No. All right, it continues looping until it gets to the value 10. When once it reaches the last value, it will terminate the program. So let's run and see what happens. Now you can see we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 10. Now you can choose to do it in different lines. So you can put /n here. So that if I run, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 10. So that's how to loop through a that's a work of a while loop. It is used to actually loop through a value. All right. Okay, so that's the basic way of using the while loop. But what if this very iteration was not here? What if it did not increment? What will happen? Let's see. Your program is going to run into an infinite loop. That means it will not have a stop. It's going to loop through at all times. So let me just comment this out and run the program again to see what happens. So if I run, you can see you're having 0 all through, and it's not going to stop. It's not going to end, because as long as the I is not less than 10 and you've not incremented it, it will keep on printing 0 values. So until you increment it such that it iterates through till it meets 10, it's not going to stop printing. So let's stop that. Try not to write a while statement without incrementing it, else you're going to run into an infinite loop. So let's take this out and run again. All right. Okay, we have our value printed right there. Okay, I think we've been able to cover these basic resources. It's time we head through our our task. Okay, but I think to avoid a long kind of video, let's take this to the part 2. All right. Thank you very much for having me around. See you in the task part. Bye bye.